table creation, introduction, or how can I define a data table? Many people use SQL to retrieve and update data in an existing database for their company. When you start doing database design, you find that a lot of time is spent laying out and normalizing the tables, as well as defining indices, relationships, and constraints. This is normally done on paper and goes through a number of revisions before the SQL code is written. The study of database design is extensive and goes beyond the content of this course. Object maintenance is done using the SQL subset called Data Definition Language, or DDL, which includes the commands create, alter, and drop. See SQL is DML, DDL, and DCL. For now, we will concentrate on table creation. When we create a table, we need to define the following. Table name, as discussed in the previous presentation called naming standards. Column names, as discussed in the previous presentation called naming standards. Data type of each column, as discussed in the previous presentation called data types. Default values of each column, as discussed in the previous presentation called default. And constraints, as discussed in the previous presentation called how do constraints work. The table and column names must conform to the naming standards of your company and SQL. The data types are for the specifying the type, such as character, numeric, date, time, and so forth, and the length of the data. The default value is for what values will be used if no value is given. The constraints give limits to the values, such as, is this a key? Can it be null? Must this value exist in another table? And so forth. Here is a sample create table statement. As you can see, it contains a table name with many columns. Each column has a column name, a data type, and several column constraints. The column constraints include not null and default. Several named table constraints are followed by 1 primary key and 2 foreign keys. Please pause this presentation to study the details. We hope you found this information useful. Please come visit us at computerbasedtraininginc.com for courses with more examples and labs where you create and execute complete commands.